Hi friends, welcome to this session. In this session, we shall learn how to compose good dialogues. Dialogue writing is a part of your syllabus and you need to know how to compose good dialogues. So we shall look at some of the aspects of good dialogues. Uh, there are two types of dialogues, broadly speaking, formal and informal. And the formal dialogues are different from the informal dialogues because in formal dialogues we use formal language, we use formal expressions and vocabulary, while in the informal dialogues we use informal language as well as expressions. As you can see here, there are a few examples. In formal dialogues, you may say, "Have you met Ravi?" But the same sentence is uh, you know, expressed in a different way in an informal dialogue where you just say, "Met Ravi." Similarly, in a formal situation, you may say, "I think what she says is right." But in an informal situation, you may just say, "She's right." So this is how we compose dialogues in formal and informal situations. Now let's look at some of the formal expressions. And this is only a sample. This is not the full list. Uh, in formal situations, we wish or greet with a proper good morning, good afternoon, good evening. But it may not be the same in an informal situation. Similarly, we use expressions like "Have you?" "May I help you?" "Thank you," "It's my pleasure," "You are welcome," "Excuse me," "Pardon," "Could you please?" or "Would you please?" "May I?" "Could I?" So these are all no popular expressions used in formal situations. If you look at the last four sentences here, "Could you please?" "Would you please?" "May I?" "Could I?" These are the polite ways of expressing or asking questions. So this is uh, much more in use in formal situation than in informal situation. Uh, if you look at the informal expressions, you have some of them here. Now, instead of "good morning," you may start with a "hi," or you may say, instead of asking "how you" or "how do you do," you may say "what's up." Instead of saying uh, no, "I agree with you," or no, if you want to agree with the person in an informal situation, you may just say "sure." You can greet someone with the "hey" or "hi," or you can say just "okay" or or "hmm." So these are all different you know short expressions used frequently in informal expressions. Now let's look at the guidelines for effective dialogue composition. There are a few guidelines here which I think will be useful for you. Keep the dialogues brief, short, simple, and clear dialogues. Let the dialogues be natural. Usually, students tend to write dialogues which look very artificial because they use the written form of the language rather than using the spoken form of the language. Let the dialogues be fluent and spontaneous. you know to make it fluent, to make your dialogues look spontaneous, you need to use the right expressions, you need to use the pauses or questions, exclamatory mark, things like that. Make all the characters contribute to the conversation. See to it that your dialogues are equally shared between or among the characters so that it looks balanced. Let the conversation be interesting, realistic, and relevant. Uh, you need to make your dialogues interesting and realistic. It should look as if the characters are speaking in a real life situation. So make it realistic as well as relevant. It should be relevant to the topic assigned. Stick to the topic or context. As I told you just now, stick to the topic, stick to the context. Don't move away from the topic given, or don't discuss something other than the topic, so that you can avoid unnecessary talk. Beating around the bush, we call it beating around the bush, that is talking what is not necessary. Avoid it. Use appropriate punctuation marks like comma, inverted commas, or colon, semicolon, question mark, exclamatory mark. Use appropriate language. The characters, when they speak in a formal situation, use different language. When they are in an informal situation, the language is entirely different. When two friends talk to each other, they use very casual language. On the other hand, when a dialogue takes place in a formal situation, for example, a bank manager talking to a customer, the language is very official, very formal, very polished. So use appropriate language according to the situation as well as the characters. Use context topic specific vocabulary. The vocabulary also differs from topic to topic and context to context. For example, if two friends are discussing a recent movie, the dialogue must have at least a few words from the related to movies, like location, lyrics, choreography, or direction, action, thriller, comedy, such words. So it should be topic specific. Here are a few guidelines for composing good dialogues. Use different types of questions. You can use long questions, you can also use short questions, you can use yes no questions where you can answer with a yes or a no. So use mix them up. Complete brief responses. You can always give complete responses to the questions, or you can also use brief or short responses. For example, you can say, sure, I'll come tomorrow. That's a long complete response. The same sentence could be reduced to, sure, I'll come, or sure, I will, or just I will. So this is how you have to use and mix the different kinds of sentences, questions, and responses. Use contractions, like instead of will not, you can say won't. Instead of cannot, you can say can't. Instead of it is, you say it's, that's. We would becomes we would, we'd, who will, so use contractions, because that's how we speak in real life. The spoken form of the language is more of contractions. Use question tags. It's a good movie, isn't it? She was your batchmate, wasn't she? So the question tags at the end of the question add a lot of meaning and make your dialogues sound better and look they look more real. So use question tags. Exclamations and filler sounds. Use exclamations like "Oh, wow, great!" No, these are the words we frequently use in our spoken language. Also, you can use filler sounds like hmm, hmm, uh, so. So sometimes we don't use words; we just use some sounds. So those sounds should be expressed in your dialogues to make them more natural, spontaneous. And the last thing is use direct speech. As you can see here, Ravi told Raj that he likes music. Now, this is indirect speech. You are telling what Ravi told Raj in an indirect way. Instead, you should not use such expressions in dialogues. You should use them directly, as you can see here. Ravi, colon, I like music. So Ravi directly tells what he likes. So that is how you can compose your dialogues. I hope this session was useful for you. Thank you very much.